Hi everyone, I'm Deborah Sweeney and I'm joined today by Sean Taylor. Sean, you're a legend in the Microsoft CSP team. Yes, you are. Everybody knows you are. So why don't you explain to us how you help partners?
Yeah, no, cheers, Debs. I'm not sure I can live up to that billing. Typically, we work with, I would say, 3 different types of partners, and they need to be helped in different ways. So if you look at sort of like partner bracket number 1, for want of a better description, they are enable me. So typically they are technically competent. They've got customers that are doing quite advanced workloads, and what they typically require is a sounding board. They need somebody to be able to take a design, high level, low level, take an estimate, take a bill of materials, and be able to just cast an eye over it, act as a sounding board in order to be able to get the feedback that they want, potentially meeting with them and their end customer to discuss the requirements for the solution, and then maybe a couple of tweaks, help the partner, but it's more in an advisory capacity than anything else. And then if you look at bracket number 2, teach me to do it. So that's partners that aren't maybe as mature in that journey for cloud, and they need a little bit more handheld. They need to be able to work with us, and we will teach them how to do that process. So we will work with them to do assessments. We will work with them and Microsoft to do assessments. We will teach them how to do, some basic stuff. Try and focus on a few areas. Don't try and boil the ocean. And then allow them to build that catalog, that portfolio of services out for their customers, and that is including, having a chat with the end customer, having a chat with them and the end customer, having a chat just between the two, themselves and us, and we will help them sort of like mold the service, help them create the design, create the bill of materials, create the estimate in Azure. If it's modern workplace, maybe look at the specific SKUs that are required in order to build that service out. But really help them sort of like take 1 or 2 things to market and then, build on top of that. And then finally, we have sort of like the do it for me. So and that's not derogatory in any sense of the term. It may well be the fact that they have capacity issues with their services team or things of that nature. And what we can do with that is we can augment what they do with our professional services. Now, professional services technically sits in a different team to where I live, but one of the things that we are really keen to do is spot those opportunities. And, when we're talking to, partners in any of the brackets, if they need that level of support and help, we can identify that opportunity and we can plug them into the correct team in TD SYNNEX to be able to fulfill that requirement when they don't have capacity or don't have, it might be something particularly niche, for example, but they don't have the ability to do that just at that particular moment in time. So, sort of enable me, teach me to do it, and do it for me. That's how I typically frame what we do to our partners.
That's great. And speaking of opportunities, one of the big disruptors right now is Copilot, changing everything. Yeah. What do you think are the key challenges faced by partners when it comes to looking at Copilot?
That's a great question. First question back though is, which Copilot?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, so as of last Wednesday, I believe there were 88 different Copilots, and I think I've heard of another one come out this morning. So there's significant disruption. The key thing, first of all, is to actually understand what the customer's requirement is and what does it require in order to make it work, as it were. And the key with that is then understanding which Copilot. So the main ones that we were looking at the moment is obviously Microsoft Copilot for 365, and that's huge. The potential is amazing. The time savings that can generate for users is ridiculous. But it's like, I've got a really cheesy saying, it's work is like digging an hole. Okay, and if I tell you to dig an hole and I don't give you any tools, you're going to dig it with your hands. You don't really need any instructions in order to be able to do that. And then, you know, if we look at when apps came in, if we compare it to sort of like digital revolutions, which is a bit of a grandiose type of saying, but then we get tools. So we get apps, which is like having a bucket and spade. And again, you don't really need a great deal of instructions to dig a hole with a bucket and spade. But when we get Copilot, I've got like a mechanical digger. Now, health and safety will probably state you're not allowed to do anything with that mechanical digger until you've been fully trained in order to do it. So that, you know, that's a massive, massive thing. The end customer has never needed so much guidance with regards to how to best use the product. So from a partner point of view, they've got to be able to do a really good adoption service. And, you know, we're talking about sustained adoption. This can't be a go in for a handover, do a week or so, and then leave them to sort of like get on by themselves. We're talking about months, if not years, of fine tuning what that does. So there's a massive piece around adoption. From a technical readiness point of view, that's all around the quality of the data. So it's really imperative that partners and customers are making sure the data quality is as good as it possibly can be. So there are things that you can do with that, but also making sure that the permissions, the sharing levels, the access is absolutely spot on. So, you know, we talk about the 7 principles of zero trust. It's absolutely imperative that they are, you know, implemented and are proven to be working prior to that adoption piece. So that's where I'm doing a lot of the work at the moment, enabling partners through various different sessions. But if you don't get that bit right, you know, we're talking about, you know, things like that end user's crown jewels, that, you know, the absolute nub of what they do as a business could be exposed to other people. So we talk about a lot of businesses having security by obscurity. So I don't have access to it, but I'm not actually bothered about going looking for it. But if I do a simple prompt like, show me all the files that I have access to that contain the word password. You know, before I would never go and actively look for something like that, but Copilot will just bring it straight to me. And that can be, you know, if you're not confident that you've done those 7 principles of zero trust properly, then that could prove to be a really awkward conversation with your end customer, because they're probably under the impression that you've already done it.
So those partners that think that Copilot for M365 is just a license sale.
And if you have, you know, if you've done your due diligence when you were migrating into the cloud and you've done, you know, maybe not all 7, but you've done some of those and you've done a really good job with security, absolutely, sell it all day, every day. But if you are that confident, get someone in the end customer that with a, you know, get them a couple of licenses to do a pilot of Copilot, and get someone to do that prompt. Show me all the files that I have access to that contain the word password, and see what results you get back. You know, if you've got confidence in that, and that's the key thing. It's confidence that the right controls, the right quality of data is already there in order to be able to do it. And we've had people say, well, how do we make money out of Copilot? And, you know, it's not for me to tell people how to make money because I'm technical rather than sales. But for me, there's a lot of services available in that readiness piece, because it's all about preparing for Copilot. And then for me, it's not really where the technical bit ends, but that's the most technical part of it. But after that, it's all about that adoption. You know, we have to train them how to use the mechanical digger.
Yeah.
And if we do it right, they'll do a really good job of using that mechanical digger. But we all, you know, you see, I know, all sorts of stuff on telly and on YouTube of people making mistakes with mechanical diggers, and that's, you know, what we don't, yeah, because they're not trained. But what we don't want is, we don't want customers to get the wrong impression of the product, or have a false impression of what the product can do.
Some great advice there, Sean. And I think the advice to partners is, if you want to get on this train and, you know, really learn how to implement Copilot effectively, we're all here to help you. So give us a shout.